Hello learners. Today we will be covering MMPH 009 International Human Resource Management under Block 3, that's Behavioral Dynamics of IHRM, the Unit 10 and Unit 11, that's Leadership and Motivation in a Global Context, and in Unit 11, that's High Performance Work Systems. So let's first we see leadership and motivation in a global context. Uh, when we talk about the leadership, it's a very known word. It's a very common practice. Everybody is aware of it. But the ancient roots of leadership is not new. It's a very old practices, which is predating recorded history. Also, there are certain skillful leadership which exist during the construction of Egyptian pyramids and Thespian temples in year 3500 BC. The leadership was event in pre-Columbian civilizations of the Americans also. The global and timeless presence is noted that the great leaders exist in all cultures worldwide, which was reported by Dorfman and Ronman. The philosophies of leadership span across diverse thinkers like Moses, Confucius, Machiavelli, and John Stuart Mill. The leadership in social sciences when it was came in picture in post World War II, where the leadership became the major topic of study in social sciences. Thousands of books and articles have explored on the leadership since then. So when overall when we say the leadership, it's an it's quite old, and it is not a new concept. But when we talk about the global practices and global presence of this, that was exist later on, and after the World War II, it came into the picture in terms of the area of the social sciences as well. There are five core components of emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is one of the major factors of leadership, where it is said to be as leaders can have to be emotionally intelligent because it is critical for the global roles as well. The five determinants or the components are self-awareness, which recognizes and understanding one's emotions and their impact on others. The traits, which includes self-confidence, realistic self-assessments, self-awareness, and self-deprecating humors. Second is self-regulation, where ability to control the impulsive behaviors and emotions. The traits which are required is the integrity, the trustworthiness, comforts with ambiguity, and openness to change. The third is motivation. Motivation is a drive to work towards the goal. It can be internal, it can be external, beyond the status and money. The traits here includes the organizational commitment, high achievement drive, and optimistic nature. The empathy is the fourth component of emotional intelligence, which includes the cross-cultural sensitivity, talent management, and strong customer orientation when we talk about the global goals, because here the understanding of others' emotions and states is equally important, and respond them in a very appropriate and correct manner. That's very important in global roles as well. And this is one of the very important role in leadership. The social skills, which includes the change leadership, team building, and persuasiveness, where the function includes managing the relationships, building networks, and influencing others. So the situational leadership in international context is where there is a demand when when the situation is there where the subordinate needs to be mentored, or needs some leader to move further to reach the organization goals as well as the personal goals. Leadership must adapt not only to the employee's situation, but also to the cultural context, that is the norms and values, or even the communication style. And thirdly, the institutional environment, which includes maybe with the legal or political system. The overall success depends on the flexibility and ability to customize leadership styles across different countries and cultures. So when we talk about universalism in leadership, the proposed universal model, it is transformational leadership, which is seen as model that could work globally and representing a higher order of leadership, where the leaders are known to be as the in the transforming the people to reach their goals. This is the universal model which is applicable in most of the the organizations and most even at the global context. So the features of transformational leaders is one is visionary. They have to be visionary. They have to be emotionally resonant with the picture of the future, the better future, where they can see the goal. The vision has to be very, aligned with the subordinates. They has to be innovative. The challenges and the norms and traditions, they need to be innovative within that. They has to be goal oriented with a clear planning. With the goals has to be sync with the organization goals as well. The future goals, they need to be purpose driven. So whatever be the goals aligned, whatever be the goals planned, they need to be meaningful. They should have some narratives within that. They need to be risk takers also. They are known to be as the good transformational leaders, where they are willingly take the bold risk for the change, because they are the change catalyst also. So whenever there is a change, there is the risk comes along with that most of the time. They are motivated to lead. They are full of enthusiasm, which embrace the leadership and act as a role model. The power base, it builds influence through respect, expertise, and follower admiration. So the transformation leader has to be they should have the power base feature as well, which is very important, which includes the respect from the subordinates, not only by just following their instructions, but also following the instructions with the admiration, with the respect. Ethical standard, it has to be ethically correct to demonstrate the fairness and moral consistency. The historical root of concept of the transformational leaders are recognized as charismatic by Max Weber's charisma, where whether they are known to be as charismatic leaders like Jesus or Muhammad or Gandhi. These are known to be as a because it transformed the society. The transformational leadership is not new, but historically embedded across all cultures. So globally, effectiveness is cultural pivots, where it is wherever when we see other side around, it is not universally acceptable as is. There are certain conditions. It needs an adaptation of local culture and context, and leadership styles varies by country to country, or culturally it influenced by the culture very deeply. For example, in less developed countries, more directive leaders may be required. In Japan, Western style reward system may not resonate. In Arab and Turkish cultures, believe in divine, and they may reduce impact of goal setting and award model. So there are certain situations where the transformational leaders or the charismatic leaders have to mold and has to make them as per the cultural fit leaders as well. So there are certain cross-cultural differences in leadership, which is one of them is very important. That is a historical universality of the leadership, where the leadership has been shaped and documented across cultural and historical domains. So, for example, the political leaders are known to be as Churchill or Joan of Arc or Gandhi, whereas the religious or the spiritual leaders are known to be as Jesus or Moses or Prophet Muhammad or Confucius. Military leaders are Alexander the Great, Miyamoto Musashi, and all. So these leaders have transcended boundaries, yet operated with the cultural norms of their own societies, the countries. The second is culture and leadership dynamics. While the leadership is universal, the style, the acceptability of leadership is across the cultural bound. Although the leadership is universal, but the type of leadership is depends on the culture and the country as well. The leaders must stand out of lead, but they cannot deviate too far from cultural expectations, because there the rejection comes to them directly. Because if they go beyond that, they may deviate, but they should not go beyond any cultural context. The effective leaders balance uniformity and norm breaking. If they are the risk takers, or they are the innovators, so equally they have to balance the other side also. So deviation in a some of the deviation is noticed, but if it is not enough, then it needs to be it has to be eliminated. So the common traits across culture is more of a among all the cultures or all the societies or the countries. First is visionary thinking, where the leaders obsessed over compelling vision, where they are clear about their group or society or country they should come from, or wherever they will be working as a leader. Second is inspirational energy. Their energy and belief in the vision becomes contagious. They energize and excited of others into commitment and action, where this inspirational energy moves from one person to another, and they follows and with respect, and they become the base for their team. The organizational capability, they build cohesive, loyal teams. Being a charismatic leader, or being a the power base for their, or powerhouse for their teams. So the use of rewards and recognitions to maintain the focus on long-term goals. So the rewards and recognition has to be designed and has to be made as per the the goals achieved by their teams, and to maintain the organizational capability. The next is cross-cultural variations in leadership practice, where the essence of leadership is similar. The execution is almost similar, because the leadership known to be as a universal term, but the way they behave, the way they execute the planning may be same, but the execution of leadership is varied. Some ways it is very important how the leaders inspire others. In somewhere how they motivate others, somewhere they how they communicate with others, how they organize the things, or how they reward the things. So when we are saying inspiration is all about whether they are charismatic or versus humility, or if we talk about the motivation of the leaders, then for example they are individual rewards, or they are into the group loyalty programs. They when we say how they communicate, are they communicating directly with their subordinates, or in the groups, or maybe directly or indirectly? Are they organizing the things, the leaders organizing things in a hierarchical way, through hierarchical organization structure, or participating organization structure? The rewards, if they are working on rewards, the leaders look in rewards either in monetary or non-monetary, or maybe symbolic, or what kind of recognition they are working on. So all these practices matters a lot in terms of building a good leader, building a charismatic and a powerhouse, a visionary leader, where they are aligned with their team, they are aligned with their subordinates. So when we talk about cross culture, and when we are talking about the international human resource management, so where the Japanese leadership style is flows from cultural and group norms, not from top-down directives. So there is less reliance on detailed job description or organizational charts if we compare this with US. Here the rules are flexible and interpreted based on situations. So that if the situations are not very rigid, the rules are quite flexible in that way. There are certain core cultural concepts which drives the leadership here. That is, first is enact the emotional need of depend on indulgence of others, seen as positive and foundational social dynamic. So it is seen that if they are dependent on the indulgence of others, they are positive. They are really looking out for some subordinates or interdependence, or the managers show benevolence, subordinate reciprocate with loyalty and obedience. So it is a positive influence, and it is seen to be as a socially foundational social dynamic. On is another way concept of driving through leadership, that is in sense of debt or obligation. After receiving help or favor, social exchanges are viewed through the lens of moral indebtedness. If somebody has helped, so it is seen as on, or maybe a sense of obligation to them. So in exchange, if the other person need some time and help, or they may view with that angle. Giri is another concept which is duty bound obligation to repay debts. So, deeply moral and social compulsion to honor relationships through reciprocation, that is Giri. Even when it contradicts personal feelings, obligations are fulfilled. So these concepts reinforce long-term relations bond within the organization, where AMEC is main inclined towards the social dynamics. On is more of just to help, or in sense of helping someone or doing a favor, whereas Giri is a situation, a duty bound obligation, where the exchange has been done on the relationship through reciprocation. The relationship model is Oyabun Korbun, which is a master discipline dynamic traditionally, whereas the other is Senpai Kohai, that is senior junior hierarchy, while mentoring and informal loyalty. So Japanese culture is more inclined towards the hierarchical flow from senior, junior, or master disciple dynamics. Not specific or not very to the rigid to the hierarchy, but more inclined towards the cultural forms. So there are certain issues also in Japanese leadership. First is, in comparison to leaders in other society, Japanese leaders have less authority because there is no hierarchy. They are not doing it from top to down or very strict, rigid organizational. Rather than they are expected to maintain the warm relationship with their followers. Here, the followers are allowed to influence the decisions of the leader to a great degree because they are coming with a leadership style where helping and social dynamics are included. Second is the loyalty of a subordinate to a superior is a virtue in Japanese ethics. The leaders must allow subordinates to show his loyalty. A leader to a large degree is expected to be dependent on the follower. It is seen as positive if the leader has some weakness that the followers can compensate and make up for. The third issue is leaders must keep conflict, contention, anxiety, tensions to a minimum or among the workers they lead. An important value of Japanese intra-group leadership is conflict avoidance. So these are mainly three issues happened in leadership, Japanese leadership. The leadership in practice, when they are in the execution, when the leadership are actually behaving, here the managers are expected to listen, to advise, and to support. The emotional investment is very important because they are culturally driven leadership, and they are into the mutual understanding and mutual roles as well. So Japanese leaders invest more time in understanding subordinates' problems. They value empathy. They value the discussions. The open discussions are always been strength of Japanese leaders and tolerance over punitive measures. The employees are seen as intrinsically motivated and reciprocate support from the managers. So less competition and more cooperation is uh, seen in the within the teams. So implications of cross-cultural leadership is Japanese leadership shows that effective leadership does not always align with Western models, like control or structure or measurable rules. The concepts like MA, on, and Giri cannot be easily transplanted in other cultures but are crucial for leadership in Japanese. So these concepts are in they are programmed with these and they are the kind of culture they comes from and the kind of upbringing they comes from. So these concepts of leadership are within them, which is that, and they cannot be replaced or transplanted to other cultures because they brought up with these concepts. So Japanese culture are more empathetic. They are known to be as more on very good listeners, or maybe they are known to be as the problem solver because they listen to their subordinates so much. The relational harmonious relationship is very strong, and the emotional connect with their subordinates and the teams are the heart of motivation and leadership behavior in the Japanese cross-cultural leadership leaders. But when these we are talking about the Japanese, and Japanese are aligned with the goals in case of Western goals of Western companies, but they are not always because they comes with a cultural norms and comes with a cultural context rather than hierarchical organizational structure leadership. Let's see what the Arab world says about leadership and what were the cultural roots of Arab leadership, which is a blend of tribal traditions, colonial legacies, and selective Western influences. The kinship system and the patriarchal norms are seen in the Arab leadership styles, whereas a European administrative rule is seen as a when it comes to the colonial legacies, and it is mostly structured and very limited behavioral adoption because they adopt very selective. They are very, uh, you know, they are very conservative in adoption of the outsider behaviors. So, because the kinship system is followed, and whatever they have learned from their from their the culture or from the family, then it or from the culture or the tradition or from the process of the system, that is the main of the leadership areas. So the key characteristic of Arab leadership style is in Ali 1990 reported as tribal kinship influence, where the leaders are like fathers, they are the protectors and providers, and there is a very authoritative style of leadership, especially in larger organization. They promote the central decision making. Personal responsibility of our outcomes is very visible and very much seen. Hesitant towards external collaboration and innovative problem solving, they are almost not welcoming attribute. So in there is another model which is Shikuracy model, where the culturally embedded style blending tribal and bureaucratic control. So here the hierarchy is based on status and seniority. Rules are flexible and often dependent on personal power. The personal relationship runs differently. Indecisiveness is common. Patriarchal mindset is mainly the dominate patriarchal mindset. Nepotism is widespread, and especially at the top. So at the top of it, nepotism is seen, and it is the kings and the prince. Culture comes like that. Open door policy may exist, but not for everyone. Only for the few selected people. Then comes the Western management influence, where it is it's all about as on today. It is present but superficial and resisted. It is seen but not in a very democratic style. It is not very open style, because due to some political issues or cultural resistance, there is a lack of alignment between modern system and local norms. So it leads to the duality in the leadership style. uh, that is two poles apart, the traditional style and the modern expectations. The traditional authority, the traditional leaders, and modern goals or the modern expectations of the organization. Further, the other model within the Arab world, it's seen and reported as Khadra's pragmatic and caliphal leadership model, which is based on traditional Islamic and Arab leadership archetypes. It assumes community of traditional norms across modern Arab organizations. The key cultural features were personalism and individualism. It is more prominent, more seen. The organization's goals, the problems are often treated as subjective and are handled individually. Whatever be the issues related to the organization goals, it is handled personally. The formal mechanisms are not on a prime way. It is secondary for them, and most of the time it is ignored also, because the because it is in the hands of the individuals, and the individualism is more you know overrides all these structures. The disorder arises, and it is not solved by systems or team, but it is solved by emergence of great man. Great man means the leader of an organization or the owner of the organization. If in case any issue comes in front, so the system and structures are often neglected and often ignored by them. So it is directed towards the individual. It handles individually. The leadership vacuum and the great man expectations. In absence, when there is any problem arises, in absence of clear structure or collective solution, the organization await a charismatic figure. The great man is a charismatic figure who solves a problem and everybody listen to him. This person restores order and becomes widely accepted due to cultural belongingness. So this reflects deep belief in individual, their top-down resolution, and over collective problem solving. So whatever the great man says, that is followed by and that is accepted due to cultural conditioning of the Arab countries. So the implication of global leadership is cannot be fully understood in the but or shaped by universal Western models. The success mainly depends on understanding tribal hierarchies and personal loyalty systems. It needs to be recognized the symbols and the role of leaders and the great man role, navigating through the duality of traditional and cultural forms and the modern organizational goals. The change management of Arab context requires a very respected figure, which is known as great man, not just rational strategies or participative methods. So here, when we talk about caliphal versus prophetic leadership models, the caliphal is ordinary man and the prophetic is great man. The basis of authority of the caliphate is authoritarian measures and ingredation. The subordinates comply out of obligation or fear, or maybe cultural upbringings or cultural norms, or maybe sometimes very little involvement in the problem solving processes, lack of structure and systems. The stability on the organizational impact is the stability maintained through control, and very little innovation or candid dialogue has been made at this level when we talk about the caliphate model. But when it is great man model, here the basis of authority is on the personal magnetism, where people really attract, you love or moral the person with a moral example. Here, the followers feel safe while sharing ideas and emotions, or voluntary submission. Compliance arises from respect and genuine commitment that somebody is there who will listen to us, and it encourages the creativity, also the trust among the people, and the deeper commitment to effective goals. It also minimizes the coercive controls. So this was all about the Arabs, and let's see further on from a French context. In French context, the cadre system, the leadership at every point. Cadre status is a prestigious classification with social, legal, and psychological importance. So there are the three roots of cadre status. One is elite education, which is most respected and direct path. Second is university graduates, that gains the cadre second status, which is gain with the experience of 5 to 10 years of job performance. And third is proven professionals without formal higher education must rise through consistent excellence. So the leadership in French context is through cadre system, where the most educated education with our experience, and without any formal education but with lot of experience and lot of excellence which is proven in their life. So the leadership style and the cultural reform. Second is the cultural forms, where the French managers focus more on mental power and analysis. The management is seen to be as cognitive challenge, not a relational or emotional role. So there is a hierarchy and centralized and formality among the organization. So the strict hierarchy at all level is being maintained. Top-down directions has to be taken care of. They has to be followed. The decision-making approach is expected, and it is rarely questioned. Many few people question for if we see from this context. Third is organizational design and leadership behavior, where it is PDG, that is President, Director, and General. It holds the absolute authority like CEO or the chairman of a organization, like in US. So they are the top of person of the organization. It all the strategic and the critical decision independently taken by them only. The communication style is highly formal. Nobody can. There is no open door system. Everything is documented, and the communication is generally done on the written communication is more very important here. The communication is done through letters or memos, or even rather than sitting together and talking and dialogues or meeting. So they always go through the hierarchy, follows the hierarchy, plus they do the formal writing, documenting each and every communication. The employee expectations in this model, in this context, the leaders are obeyed and respected within the organization. Subordinates expect strong intellectual direction, not emotional motivation with these kind of organizational leaders. There is one GE case study that was reported as cross-cultural clashes in 1988 when backfired. The GE take over the French firm and backfired due to American style of motivational leadership and vision, where they shared the French preference for intellectual and analytical leadership rather than verbal or motivational leader. The result happens is when they took over, the low motivation, low involvement, less employee engagement, resignation from top management, and happen to be difficulty in recruiting new people within an organization. So the lesson they learned due to this case study was leadership behaviors must align with national culture to be effective. If they need their leadership to be effective or to be aligned, they need to be aligned with the national culture or the cultural context of an not only the organization but also with the country. So there are certain leadership tips. The leadership tip one is provide clear objective. Then they need to build the teams. Achieving unit goal is leader responsibility of leader, enhancing individual and team performance, make the difficult decisions, gain employee team ownership of projects, generate enthusiasm and pride, make the team feel important, because that is very important task of a leader to make their team feel important, teach and learn from honest mistakes, manage creative talent effectively. So understanding motivation in the workplace is very important phase or factor of responsibility of a leader, which is the most researched area in management. Here, the manager who understand how to drive their subordinates or employees it is researched and it is documented. It can significantly increase productivity, and understanding is very important factor, very critical diagnostic skill for effective leadership. So the traditional approaches to motivation, where the Frederick Taylor scientific management came into assumption that money is the primary motivator. The strategies build that with the time motion studies, where the where the works can be break into different tasks, and so that the productivity can increase, or maybe the increase the worker productivity and increase the worker, the more they work more they get. So it was best suited where there is a repetitive work, where the assembly lines are there, when the routine work is being done. So environment where compliance is expected and judgment is minimal, where it is more of a repetitive task or a execution is doing on a regular basis. But the certain limitations of Taylor's approach was it simplifies the human motivation. After a specific period of time, they work like a machines. They work in a, so sometimes they feel very demotivated. The monotonous work makes them very demotivated. So, and it is seen that every employee is not driven by money. Yes, the conclusion was money is a prime motivator, but it is not the only motivator which helps in getting the best of the productivity. So here, since it is driven by the money-driven theory, so it ignores the personal needs and the other behavioral issues like job satisfaction or employee engagement. Then comes the emergence of human relations school, which was developed in response of Taylorism, where the workers are motivated more than money. There are certain factors, certain issues which can be taken care of, like job satisfactions or personal growth or recognitions, along with the reward. The rest of recognition is equally important, which enhance the motivation. It to focus more on meeting with workers and to study their psychological and social needs at the workplace. Although here, when it is dealing with behavioral issues, it is little complex, but it is as multifaceted. and it is seen that the individuals, different people have different needs, which drives them towards the work. The understanding of individual preference is more important and very, it is an essence to build the engaged and productive workforce within an organization. Then comes the Maslow's need hierarchy theory, where despite of foundational, it was derived by Abraham Maslow, and it was first which was tested globally. Despite of his foundational status, few cross-cultural studies have tested and compared to those of US and Canada. So some cultures mirrored Maslow's need hierarchy theory very closely. Others showed both similarities and significant deviations. Although Abraham Maslow's theory was universally presence of needs, it has a universal presence of need, but there was cultural differences in need of prioritization, where in the Arabs they prioritize autonomy. Interpersonal relationship were also vital. Saudis focus more on social need, less on self-actualization need. So, in contrast of American managers. So, the Maslow five need theory are valid globally. Their order and emphasize vary across cultures due to different values, traditions, and social economic conditions. So, basically, the Maslow need hierarchy theory consists of five levels, with the first level from bottom comes with the physiological needs, which includes the hunger, thirst, shelter, and sex. Later, it comes to the safety, which is a personal safety and security of an income. It is said that once a physiological needs is completed, then only one thing about the safety needs. Once the safety needs, then it moves upward to the social need, where it is more of social expectance and belongingness and interpersonal relationship. Then once the social needs are one acquired that, then there is a need arises of esteem needs, which desire for prestige. There is a feel of valuable in the eyes of only self and others. The top of it is self actualization need, where it is seen below all the four need to be fulfilled. Only then the self actualization need arises. That is a desire of feeling competent, authentic, self expressive, creative, and unique. So these are the five levels which were universally accepted and universally analyzed. There is another theory, that is Herzberg two-factor theory, where they said there are two factors: either it is hygiene factor to motivate, or there are the motivators. So hygiene factors include the basic factor, that is all about the salaries, companies policies and administrations, supervision qualities, interpersonal relationship, working conditions, job security, status. All these are hygiene factors. Where the motivator elements are achievement, recognition, works, advancement, their own personal employees' personal growth, their own development, the challenging work which is given. Sometimes it motivates the workers. So they work. They work as a motivator to them to be as a good product, to increase the productivity. Then sense of purpose is also one of the best motivator which included in this list. So here the hygiene factor prevent dissatisfaction but do not motivate, whereas the motivators lead to actual motivation and job satisfaction. Salary may prevent dissatisfaction, but it doesn't motivate an employee, to every employee, to work in a work for because it is not that challenging, or maybe it is a very monotonous or very regular key. Whatever the work they are doing, they are getting the salary or the Out of it, the company's policies are fixed and administration is fixed and the working conditions are fixed. But there is no challenging environment, which may not may prevent dissatisfaction. The person will not be dissatisfied, but they will not be motivated. Whereas a motivator lead to actual motivation, and that results in job satisfaction. The third theory was is Macklin's needs theory, which was come up with three needs theory by David Macklins. The three the needs arises over time. It is shaped by life, culture, and learning. First is need for achievement, then is need for affiliation, and need for power. So this is as there is no fixed hierarchy. It is said that needs may vary the dominance as per the individual's own personal traits or personal expectations towards how dominant a personality or a person is he or she. The needs are shaped by both nature and nurture, how they grown up, what was the cultural, what was the belongingness and all, everything that drives them. Uh, it is and there is a symbolic need for achievement is NR, NF, and NPO. So NR can be trained. Achievement, the need, when there is a need for achievement, a person can be trained or skilled to enhance and the studies or to enhance in their own skills. There is a link between the achievement motivation and national economic performance motive. So overall, when we say the characteristics, the typical role for need for achievement is seen in the entrepreneurs and innovators, where they have a desire to accomplish challenging tasks because they need to achieve. They set the target, they need to. That need arises, and they take very calculative risk. Whereas need to affiliation, where they look out for the harmonious relationship, they avoid the conflict. They want to get into the affiliation work. It is seen more in the counselors or integrators or HR or administrators, whereas the need of power is desire to influence others, to influence and control others. These includes the authoritative positions, which is seen mainly in teachers or politicians or the managers. So these three needs are the basic needs of by David Macklins. There is another theory which is given by Victor Room, that is expectancy theory. He believed that efforts will result to successful performance. Can I do it? Confidence is one's ability. That is expectancy to perceptions. Now, instrumentality leads to perfection to the performance to the outcome. Now, this belief that successful performance will lead to specific outcome, and the balance refers to the value placed on the expected reward. If the outcome is this much, then the value is this much. Do I value the reward? That is the personal importance of an outcome. So performance is, can I do expectancy to performance is can I do it, and the performance to outcome, if I perform well, will I get the reward? So it is derived through the outcome. So then is this equity theory is more is given by J. Stacey Adams, where one's own inputs and outputs and others' inputs and outputs are comparable. For example, when the employee contribute to the job, the examples can be experience or efforts or education, their skill, that is, the time. Whereas the output is where the employee receives from what the employees receive from that particular job, salary, recognition, benefits, and all. Then the equity is related to the fair treatment, and inequity is unfair, where there is unfair treatment, which is an inequity towards the work. The high performance work system is demonstrate the commitment to building an organization culture based on commitment rather than control, and it emphasizes on pursuit of excellence. So HPWS means integration of set of human resource policies and practices and together produce superior employee performances. Whereas the best practice companies share common recruitment, selection, training and all, and encourage the employees to contribute in their creativity and the knowledge and ability to adapt the changing market situations. The HPWS process is very important where it apply these skill sets in their work environment. The organization strategy must rely on and make the use of workers' skill set at the optimal level. The purpose is mainly driven to establish the long-lasting competitive edge in the industry, to include a new feature and more lasting solution when compared to cost-cutting exercises. Certain characteristics of HPWS is ensuring employee security, that there is a match what they are giving and what they are getting, selective hiring, training by commitment, decentralized decision making, high results based on the compensation what they are getting out of their outcome or of their performance, and reduce status barriers. When there are high performance organization, the shared vision and the mission of an organization and the set values and the business strategies are aligned, leadership practices are in line, infrastructures that support and strengthen the strategies, employee actions satisfy the client's organization, performance gaps are less, businesses are more successful and adopt the changing market. The successful implementation of FWPS, high performance working system, is defines the recruitment criteria, it defines a culture, it assigns accountability, and identifies a group with missing or inappropriate career paths. There are certain principles of HWPS. First is shared information. The information is meaningful, timely, and shared by to the employees by building the organizational changes, providing enough information which may increase the employee commitment also towards the organization. Second principle is knowledge development. Knowledge development refers to the sharing information and expanding knowledge where they are interconnected, identifying top talent in the job market, because they need to have the knowledge managers to run the high performance working system within an organization. Training the employees is equally important. Problem solving and interpersonal skills of the employees, they need to be competent enough in that. Fostering the real time and on the job learning environment with innovative technique is very important. That comes under the knowledge development part, and keeping employees informed about the company organization or the organization goals. Third is performance reward linkage, which link with their personal benefits and the organization goals. The linking rewards to employee performance encourage them to be, work intrinsically motivated and mutually benefit outcomes can be generated. There are proper reward system which motivate employees to support and to ensure the smooth functioning of an operations part. First is egalitarianism, where the conflict among managers or employees are being replaced by cooperative work approaches. Employees see themselves as vital contributors, not just as an employee or the workers. The collaboration and teamwork become the more common part of collaborative workforce, or the collaborative learning is more important. The productivity improves where the team work in a collaborative manner. So instead of team, they work as a collaborative team under this principle. So basically, HWPS implementation, these elements, all the elements make a contemporary human resource development, where the individual development, career development, performance management, and organizational development from individual development to organizational development, the entire implementation follows all these four principles, that is shared information, knowledge development, performance reward linkage, and egalitarianism, where it leads to the career development and which are which direct towards the performance management and finally to the organizational development. Now, all these four elements which creates the human resource development, develop the talent in order to improve their own skills, uh, the motivation, the opportunities, the firm's employees for long term, sustainable organizational competencies, organizational commitments, and a shared cultural values among the employees and the mindset within the firm that creates the high productive workforce systems. Because when we really talk about the successful factors, here the main point is the shared vision and the mission and the set values and set the business strategies where the leaders practice aligned with the goals of personal and profession, the organization goals. The employee actions that satisfy and the performance gaps less. This is one of the purpose which we discussed, where it is more long lasting solution when compared to conventional cost cutting exercise. So PWS process is very important, very when it comes to emphasizing the excellence, and the employees on expected to be highly competent and continually involved in organization involvement, which is done by the with a from individual development to career development, and then to performance management, and finally to the organizational goals, organizational development. So individual from the path from individual development to organizational development covers the development of the entire talent of an organization, development of the employees of an organization, where they are more focused not only on their personal growth and strength or upskilling or learning new things, collaborative workforce with the key factors on key determinants of knowledge management or performance link, or maybe shared information. So overall, all these components makes a performance management. And further, when we talk about the performance management area, it is more towards the sustainable and organization. It is more towards the organizational commitment. It is more inclined towards the shared vision between, or the shared mission or a collective vision and mission of an individual and organization. They are synced, they are aligned with each other. And it further, the implementation finally ends up at organizational development, which is the main objective of any organization, any company, globally or domestically. Because here the individual development, which not only includes the career development but also the motivation of intrinsic motivated employees, which leads to the productivity and organizational development overall, where they have the cultured share and cultural mission and vision of a organization. So overall, we have seen that the great leaders have existed throughout history and can be found in all cultures. While leadership is exhibited in all societies, cultural norms influence on what kind of leaderships are appropriate in particular culture. There are certain important norms that affect the leadership behavior. There are certain cross-cultural issues that do motivate managers. There are different theories, which includes the Maslow need hierarchy theory or two-factor theory, hygiene motivator. We talk about the three needs of the motivation. We also talk about the equity theory. So there are certain motivation principles and practices and theories which varies across culture on a global level. Then we discuss on the HPWS system, which leads to holistic enrichment of an organization that revolves around the high performing working systems, which not only helps the employees individually to come up with a positive outcome, but without feeling pressurized, employees feel motivated and contributed to organizational success. Designing and implementation of HWS system is a collective effort. So overall, HWPS affects positively employee satisfaction, organizational commitment, and employee empowerment holistically. Thank you so much for today. See you in the next lecture. Thank you.